Hi guys, how are we? I hope you've been fine. I hope you've been well. It's another week, and I just decided, hey, let me come here and talk about this topic because I've been thinking about it, and then I came across this article, and I thought, hey, okay, now this is following me way too much. So the article is actually an old article. It was written in 2005. And the topic of the article is what scares women about getting older. And then it says everything, which is really interesting. So I'm not quite sure whether men worry about or get scared about getting older. This is not a conversation I've had with men that I know that are in my life. I've never had a man tell me I'm afraid of getting to my 30s, but I've had it countless times from women around me that are they are afraid of, oh, I don't want to get into my 30s, I don't want to get old. And I have to say, you know what, it's a topic that I don't relate with. Unfortunately, I've always actually loved being old. I've always loved the mystery of life, and I've always enjoyed to know what's going to happen next. So for instance, when I was in my early 20s, I always wanted to be in my late 20s. When I was 25, I wanted to be 30. I'm looking forward to be 35. So it's I don't know, maybe it's a me thing, I have no idea. Have no idea, but I've always wanted to meet the older version of myself. I've always wanted to meet, you know, to meet the 5-year-old me, older me. So yeah, it's quite interesting. Anyway, so I'm gonna go through a couple of. So this lady, she's called Michelle Burford. She did some research, and the participants were women between the ages of 13 and 77. But for this particular one, she sort of the questions that she had 6 questions, and she purposely had women over 40 answer them. So the first question, and what I'll do is I'll probably go through them and see, you probably look into what some of the women in that who participated in that research said, but also what I would say if I was participating as well. So the first question was, what if I never marry or have children? Now, I have to say that, look, this is one question that is interesting because I have to say that it's one of the questions, it's one of the problems that I've decided to let people worry on my behalf. Not a single day that I wake up and worry that I'm not married or I don't have children. And it's not like it's not worrisome. I mean, like I said, it's very subjective, but I think people tend to worry more than I worry. So I decided probably let me allow them to worry on my behalf, and then it's one less problem on my shoulders. Anyways, it's one of the things that I think it's beyond my control, and I feel like there's no point worrying about things that are beyond your control. I've seen people in their 40s or people married for over 30 years and probably didn't manage to have children, but I've also seen people who didn't even try and had twins or quadruplets. So I think having children and getting married are things, to me, it's things that are beyond my control. And I think in due time, if that's what God wants for you, it will happen, and that's how I operate, and that's how I feel about it. So one of the women who answered this was a clinical professor, and she stated that, you know, her mother's last words were, "I am satisfied," and she was asking, how do we live so that in the end of our life, at the end of our life, we can say those words. And of course, she was saying that she's seeing people being transformed profoundly by the experience of having their own biological children, but she stated that, but you can still grow people even if they don't come from your own body. There are so many people who haven't had parenting. You can become a mother to them. She didn't manage to have children for herself because she had a chronic inflammatory bowel disease, And I've always thought that, people who ask others, why aren't you married? Why don't you have children? I feel like, especially why don't you have children? I feel like it's a very insensitive question, because some people do have health issues, and they do have life-threatening issues, and they cannot be able to carry children. And sometimes it's trauma after trauma when they have to hear this question. So I do feel like it's one of those questions that people could probably mind their business. I mean, politely. Yeah, because it is subjective, really. So it's not one of my 99 problems. But if I don't have, so the next question was, but if I don't have children, who will take care of me when I get old? I was surprised that people actually think about these kinds of things, because I think in this day and age we've seen that you cannot raise kids with an I don't know with an expectation that they will take care of you when you get older, because you don't even know whether you will outlive your kids. You know what I mean? Like, it's I and like, so Sharon who is one of the people who answered this question, stated that she she stated the importance of reenacting a sense of family among your friends, and also creating connections that are long lasting, that go beyond your family, or your close knit family. And she stated that an adult child might get a job and move to the other side of the world, and none of it is our control. For instance, my parents, I don't think when my parents had me 30 years ago, they thought that one day our child will take a suitcase and catch a 22-hour flight and land in another continent. I don't think they had that in mind, and yet it happened. Thank goodness they don't only have me. So, you know what I mean? But even though it's a journey that they wanted for me, at least I know now that they are happy with where I am at the moment. It's not something that they could have thought about 30 years ago, that I was capable of. So I think relying on children, in your old age, I don't think at this day and age is something that, I don't think it's something that we should think about. The other question was, the other person who answered that question was Naomi, and she stated that my experience is that people with children are often alone in old age, and having children is not a safety hedge, and having children is no insurance policy. And she said, I think people who have connected only to their families may be more vulnerable than those who connect more broadly. We need to learn how to be alone. Very important. You do that by developing depth within yourself, interests that are yours. So, like, look at passion, look at what you're passionate about, follow that or do that. We do that by connecting to something greater or larger than ourselves, volunteering, helping other people who are less fortunate, and things like that. Things like that help you develop your own sense of meaning of life. So that question was, I'm worried about losing my looks and feeling the pressure of having plastic surgery. Now, when I saw this, I was like, this sounds like a West problem. I mean, I'm sure there are people within the African continent that that pursue plastic surgery, but not in my circle. So I really, this is not something I'm worried about. I'm scared about not being able to work as I get older, and about society ultimately throwing me away. Huh? I don't know. I mean, I agree with what Abigail said. Society has little to do with it. You throw your own self away. Isn't that true? You decide that you are irrelevant. The trick about getting older is to find something you don't know how to do, something you want to improve on. Without passion, we are all sunk. We are just consumers who go out and buy another toaster. Like I said, I agree with her in that regard, because I feel like if you have a passion and you're looking to reinvent yourself, every age you get, just it's almost like finding that purpose finding a new purpose for yourself. If your purpose in life was to have children and you get children, then what is the next purpose? I think it's always almost like pushing the goal, finding something else to do, to to have that, to build that sense of hope and sense of purpose, because that can keep you going in the midst of everything else you might be feeling that you are deficient, you have a deficit on. The other question was, what if I become ill and incapacitated? Now, I have to admit that one time I thought about this, and I think it's a couple of years ago, where an international student was struck by a vehicle. I think it wasn't in Sydney, it was in another state, and I just can't remember which one, but she was hit by a vehicle, and they went to court, and this gentleman said he couldn't see her because it was at night. I mean, I think trying to say because she's dark skinned, he couldn't see her. I'm not quite sure what happened, but I know that case went to court, and they were trying to get justice. Because can you imagine that happening to you when you're an international student? The last thing you can afford to be is get sick, because you really need your holistic well-being to survive in a foreign land, especially when you're international. And then when you get into an accident, or you get ill or incapacitated, it's I can only imagine the devastation. So I've ever thought about it, but what I told myself was, I think if that happens to me, I feel like everything that happens to me at that particular moment, it's almost like that experience comes with another level of strength, almost or produces another layer of strength that I didn't even know I had inside of me, almost like to be able to tackle that problem. And I believe that verse in the Bible that says that no problems that comes your way that is beyond you, because if it's beyond you, it will not come to you. To probably go to the neighbor. So I do believe that everything that happens or comes my way, I have some level of capacity to tackle it, or it's there to teach me, to grow me to another level of myself, to help me meet another me inside of me that I haven't met. So I look at it in that way. And one of the ladies who answered that was Rachel. And Rachel said, it's a discovery. So her worry is actually getting Alzheimer's disease. For those who Alzheimer's disease is dementia, and it is a degenerative disease that actually affects your cognitive capacity. So it kills off or eats up your brain cells, and obviously it's a devastating illness, because so far we don't have there's no cure around the world, but it does come with memory loss and other symptoms, but obviously, having worked in the hospitals and in nursing homes, and lived around people who have been whose life has completely been changed by Alzheimer's disease, I can see why this can worry her. But I have to say that my grandmother had Alzheimer's disease, and I've obviously been within that industry for the last 6 years, and I can tell you, I've seen more happy people living with Alzheimer's than I've seen people who have no illness. And what it has taught me is that in every situation you find yourself in, you can reinvent yourself. You can be brand new. You know what I mean? Like, in every situation, even people with Alzheimer's have got a capacity to be happy, and they find a way to be happy. Sometimes when they are developing the illness in their mild stages, it can be a bit hard, because then they understanding what's happening, they understanding the memory, they are losing the memory, and they understanding the devastation of their family members. Maybe they can see the expression and they come around. But when they are in their late stages, I can tell you they're in a different world, and it's just how you make them feel, and they reciprocate the love, the feel, the laughter. It's amazing. So I've never had that worry, but apparently this lady worries about having the disease, because she feels like her intellectual capacity means everything to her. That's what she states. Anyway, Maya Angelou had something interesting to say about that, and I love this woman because I think she was incredible, and she had a wealth of wisdom. And she stated, if you don't know what you are here to do, then just do some good. I'm convinced of this. Good done anywhere is good done everywhere. For a change, start by speaking to people rather than walking by them like they are stones that don't matter. As long as you are breathing, it's never too late to do some good. And I love those words because they're amazing. It just shows you if you can make one of your purpose in life to be about doing some good, something that's out of yourself, or something that will benefit someone else, something that will benefit a cause outside of yourself, then I think, yeah, you probably have less fears or less worries. Anyway, the other question was, I don't know. There's actually someone else who said something. Impermanence is not just some concept that the Buddhists developed. Everything is going to change anyhow. I can't control it. And so I can simply be here now. The work that you do in your lifetime, accepting yourself and forgiving your parents, all comes together. You just get up and you say, aha, this is the fruit. I am a woman. I love that. Anyway, the next question was, I don't know how I'll be able to handle the pain and regret of losing those closest to me. So this was an interesting question as well, because some people have these regrets and some people have these worries, and I think I'm one of those people. A couple of years ago, I think 3 years ago, I spoke to one of my friends, and he told me he was in the army, and obviously he was thinking of, he felt like chances were he was going to be sent to Somalia at the time. We still do have Kenyan soldiers in, I'm not sure, but at the time we had Kenyan soldiers in Somalia, and it's obviously a battlefield, and I was always afraid of, if he goes there, whether he would make it. And it was always like a worry at the back of my mind that I didn't know how I could handle losing him. So, but that year we spoke about it, and I know that and I told him, I'm actually afraid every time you tell me that there's a possibility you might end up going in that battlefield. But he was always cracking jokes, and we would forget about it and we'd stop talking about it. And that same year he ended up passing away, and to me it's almost like, and I'll probably talk about this in another video, but at the time when we were talking about it, I could not imagine being able to handle the pain and the regret, because we had not seen each other in close proximity for 7 years. And that year we were probably had a chance to see each other, but we didn't. And it's the same year that he was taken, and he was taken in the place that I thought he would have been most safe, at home. So, but at the time when it happened, I was in so much pain, but at the same time, because I was speaking to the mother, and the mother had so much, she's such a spiritual woman, and she has God in her, and she has a lot of strength. She gave me a lot of encouragement, and I was like, oh, if this is his mom and she's this strong, I need to be strong. I need to be strong for her. I need to be strong for her, for his friends. So it's things like that. Same case with my grandmother last year. I think I had this strong desire that I need to go home, and I didn't know why. My grandma was sick, and at the time I had this feeling that I need to buy a ticket to plan and go home. And obviously I didn't manage to find her. I didn't make it, but at least I was able to give her a respectful and warm send off, and that would have killed me if I was not in a position to do that. And still, because of the way I was close to her, and because of my level of growth and understanding, and being around and experiencing a lot of mortality around me within my nature of job, and losing a lot of my patients, I have built, like, I am not the same person I was 5 years ago. Sorry, I have built a lot of resilience. I have managed to carve ways to deal with loss and grief whenever I lose a patient, or whenever I lose someone close to me. Because like I said, I have lost a lot of people in the last couple of years, especially the last 5 years. But it's almost like with every one of these experiences, and it builds, or it brings about another level of me. It builds about another layer of strength that I didn't know I had within me. So and I loved a quote that was there that said, life makes you ready to meet things. Life makes you ready to meet with the things you meet with. You get a lot of power simply from life experiences. We build strength disappointment by disappointment. And I'll finish up with a story about Naomi. Naomi was stating how she was afraid that her mother would have a heart attack upon hearing of her brother's death. But this is what the mother told her. The mother said, Rachel, I couldn't have dealt with this when I was 40. But now that I'm 80, I am strong enough. The only way that I am weak is in my body. It takes a lifetime of experience to learn to deal with trauma like this. So I enjoyed going through those questions, and obviously I know there are many questions, and probably I'll do this again in future. I really hope that I could find a lot of research on what scares African women around the topic of aging, because I know people are afraid of, I know I've had people confess, I don't want to be in my 30s, I don't want to be in my 40s. I am looking forward to be 35. I cannot wait to see the 40 me. Because I feel it's a mystery. It's almost like watching Scooby-Doo. You know how Scooby-Doo was about solving mysteries and things like that. I loved it, and that's what I loved more. That's what I love much about life, because life surprises you, and most often than not, the things that you face are things that are out of your control. So I think, for me, I believe a lot of it is a lot of the strength and wisdom and knowledge. I give it up to God, because I feel like God gives me that wealth of knowledge and wisdom to be able to see life in a different lens and not worry about things that are beyond my control, but make the most out of things, and learn and grow, and just support other people around me. So let me stop there. So I'm always trying to make these videos short, but clearly I'm always on that 20 mark. Anyway, I hope that you have a blessed week. I hope that you be kind to one another. Just be nice and to everyone, and I'll see you on the next one. God bless. Bye.